Hey all, it's Jess from Sunflower Dairy, and I came out to the garden because I wanted to put a few seeds in the garden before winter time. I have a few things like poppies that need the cold to grow, and there's a few other things that I have, but let's go ahead and plant some seeds in the winter garden. Alright, so I'm out here at one of the garden beds, and I have a whole bunch of poppies. So I like to store my seeds in photo containers. It's just really convenient to store them that way, and then you can put the different categories of seeds in the different little containers, and then you kind of have them all organized. But I have all kinds of different poppies that I wanted to put into the winter garden because, like I said, poppies need a season of cold, and they just grow a lot better during that cold season, and a lot of times they actually like the snow, so that's why I'm gonna go ahead and plant them. And with poppies, you want to just sprinkle them on the top surface of the soil. So I'm just gonna scratch the top surface of the soil and go ahead and plant some of these, but I'll show you some of these I'm gonna be planting. So there's a pretty good variety of different poppies I'm going to go ahead and be planting in here. Alright, so I'm just kind of scuffing up the top of this soil here. And then I'm just going to be sprinkling the poppy seeds on the tops of these garden beds. So you're supposed to surface sow poppies, so we're actually going to leave these just like this so that poppies need the sunlight to germinate. So we're just going to barely scuff this to kind of get them, set on top of the soil, so that if the wind blows or something, it's not going to blow the seeds, but we're also not burying these so that they can still get the sunlight. So I'm just lightly scuffing these a little bit. And then that's all we're gonna do for the poppies. Alright, so I also have Bachelor Button flowers that I'm also going to be planting right now. The Bachelor Buttons don't necessarily need the cold weather for germinating, but I just noticed that it seems like Bachelor Buttons do a lot better when they reseed than if you plant them, which I think that has to do with, how early the seeds are in the ground. So I'm going to kind of imitate how a plant would reseed itself. So I'm going ahead and putting the seeds in here, in the winter time, and then in the spring, as soon as the soil warms up, these seeds will start germinating. So that will give them a sooner start than if, say, I came out here in the garden season and planted them. They'll have all winter to be settled into the garden, and then whenever they're ready to germinate, they can start germinating, which should give them a better start, just like if a plant reseeded. So I have several different Bachelor Button varieties I'm going to be going ahead and putting in here. So just like the poppies, I'm going to scuff this soil here. But Bachelor Buttons do like to be buried a little bit, so we are going to bury these a little bit. All right, so we'll just kind of bury these about, you know, maybe 1/4 of an inch. Not super deep because we want to kind of mimic, you know, if the plant would have reseeded itself. So we're not planting them super deep, but, you know, we're not dropping them right on top of the soil. But there we go. We're going to hopefully have some really nice big bachelor button flowers in the spring. All right, so the next thing I wanted to do in here was I have a whole bunch of spinach seed, and the spinach loves the cold. That's when spinach thrives. A lot of times if people try to plant spinach in the warm springs or even in summer, spinach is going to bolt. Spinach just hates the heat. So the best time to plant spinach is when it's cold. In the fall, in early spring, like just as the snow is melting, or you can plant it in the fall, like right now, just before you get heavy snows, and then that way the seeds will be there, and then it will be able to start germinating whenever it wants to. It might have a slow start of germinating, but you know, it's not gonna bolt. So I'm gonna go ahead. Spinach likes to be buried, so I'm just gonna dig up some spots here, take out some of these old plants. I'm gonna dig up some spots here. And just layer this with spinach seeds. Alright, so we have that spinach all seeded in these beds. So whenever this spinach is ready to germinate, whenever it has its preferable time during this fall, winter, or early spring, whenever it decides it wants to grow, it will be the time that the spinach wants to grow and not the time that I plant it. So again, kind of like the reseeding thing, but if you've ever noticed, if you've ever grown a garden, it seems like when things reseed, they do so much better. And that is because the seeds are in the ground when the seeds want to grow. We're not putting them in there. Whenever the seeds want to grow, that's when they're growing. So that is their preferable time to grow. So I'm just kind of mimicking the reseeding process and getting these in here in the fall, and then whenever these seeds decide to grow, that's when they're going to grow. So we should have some beautiful spinach that wants to thrive, and hopefully we will have some beautiful greens. Alright, so I'm kind of just looking out here in the garden while I'm out here, and I see this beautiful thyme. Look at that beautiful thyme. Thyme smells so beautiful. This is wonderful for putting in all kinds of cooking dishes. So while I'm out here, I think I'm going to go ahead and harvest some of these. So I have regular red creeping thyme, and then I also have lemon thyme, and I love both of those for cooking. It's great for soups, stews, you know, pretty much any kind of roasts or anything. Beautiful thyme. All right, well, I think I'm going to pick up all my stuff from in the garden, and I'm going to head inside and get some stuff done in there. Thank you all for coming out to the garden with me today and planting some things before winter time. All right, all, thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.